The Oracion Seis is a group that's been around in Fairy Tail for a very long time, and is probably one of, if not Mashima's favorite groups to really showcase in the story of Fairy Tail. After the initial arc, they came back as the primary antagonist for the Key to the Starry Heavens anime-only arc that he himself helped write. And then they ended up having an appearance at the end of Tartarus, where they became free, and then they joined Crimes for Zero Jalal, and then they had a small part in the final arc of Alvarez, where unfortunately the entirety of the guild, minus Merity and Angel, basically got off-screened by August, one of the strongest characters in the series at that point, and they were just incredibly disrespected. And so, from that point onwards, despite the Oracion Seis being Mashima's favorite group, either it be to draw or just overall just the concept of the characters, having them pop up multiple times in mainline Fairy Tail, they have kind of not had the respect that they deserved. The biggest thing that they've had was kind of their own original arc that they debuted in, and Key to the Starry Heavens. And after that, they've kind of been more or less jobbers in the eyes of the fandom, since they didn't really have any outstanding moments when they were reintroduced into the story, outside of saving Jalal in Tartarus and joining his guild, and then off-screened by August. Nevertheless, this group needs some time to shine, and Mashima 800 Years Quest, as of chapter 185, he's had the Oracion Seis fight off against kind of a demonic counterpart, to an extent, of the Seis against the Oracion Sext, who are demons created by the Black Wizard Ferris, who is a new character introduced in 100 Years Quest that has seemingly the powers of Zerafnak and Logia combined, and created her own set of demons, one of which being a revived Master Zero who had their body altered by Nirvana and kind of resurrected him as one of her demons. And now in the current arc, one of the side plots is the Seis fighting against these demons, all while Team Natsu is fighting against Fire and Flame, the Dark Guild headed by the Fire Dragon god Ignia. And we've kind of been cutting back and forth from these fights a couple of times. Initially, we were led to believe, okay, they might have a bit of a chance from how Racer was dealing with it, but then they were all getting dominated. Every member would try and have a way to get around their opponent, but as of this recent chapter, they've all kind of been dominated, and the only ones that were still standing were kind of Midnight and Racer, but Racer, aka Sawyer, was giving pep talks to everyone, telling them not to lose. They can't lose at a place like this, and he even manages to land another hit on his opponent, which surprises his opponent. And this encourages Cobra to get up from getting hit with a massive blow and exude a bunch of poison, making his opponent just feel kind of hesitant to attack him outright. And based off of that chapter, it feels like we're setting up for a redemption of the Seis, not in the character department, in the viewing of them in fights, giving them the chance at winning. A comeback victory, surprising their opponents, or at the very least putting up a good fight, because outside of literally Midnight cheap-shotting Zero, he is really losing that fight and barely hanging on. And Cobra is just seemingly hanging on by the skin of his teeth and pushing through sheer willpower. And based off the cliffhanger of that chapter, it just feels like Mashima is setting us up for potentially giving the Seis their flowers, giving them the chance to actually win a fight. Not only that, giving them full fights for each member. Except Richard, he got off-screen, unfortunately, more or less. His entire fight was off-screen and just got hit with a massive blow by a centaur demon. But nevertheless, he might still end up getting up. But I still really do want at least some of the Seis to win, because they deserve it. They did a lot to try and redeem themselves, to try and make up for the sins of their past, for all the horrible things they did when they were one of the members of the Oracion Seis Dark Guild, of the Barm Alliance, and all the crap they've done over their lives. Because right now, they all kind of, are back in society trying to do their own thing. And right now, Merity brought them together to take on this threat that's facing the continent of Galtina and probably the world, since Ferris wants to destroy everything. Nevertheless, I do feel like the Seis should grow in this fight. Either stalemate their opponents, give them a good fight, but have some of them win. Cobra especially. I think Cobra and even Midnight deserve some wins. And Angel. Either way, I just really hate the fact that they got reintroduced just to get their asses whooped again. Because it just feels like they're the jobbers of the universe. And they kind of were in Alvarez. But it's just a real shame because the only one of the Seis that really gets any real spotlight is Cobra, and even then he's always getting his ass beat. And their characters deserve a lot more. With everything they've gone through and the development they've had, they deserve to have at least one win. But let's take a step back. Let's say they manage to get back up, but they're still losing and just barely hanging in there. Something that's been going on in the comments and even the discussions I've seen online is potentially, since Selene is in the area to kind of take care of Alderaan right now, she might summon Diablos, which is another group in the series that has only been introduced in the sequel, but have not been present in this arc and the arc previous. Okay, Diablos was seen in like 2 panels, but they were kind of like irrelevant right now. So it'd make sense for Selene to see that the Seis are struggling against these demons that Ferris made, and would argue that perhaps her guild Diablos could end up helping out. And this could really be a good thing, because Diablos does kind of need to show that they are allies of Fairy Tail, and what better way to do so than to have them aid in a fight, either the Oracion Seis fight or against Fire and Flame, but Team Natsu take care of Fire and Flame based on how things are set up there. But despite that, the Seis having help from Diablos, while it would diminish to an extent their moments of triumph, it would make more sense for them to take on these powerful demons with the help of these powerful dragon slayers from the exact same continent. Because the Diablos are no slouches. They've managed to push a lot of these characters in Fairy Tail to a good degree, and had Fairy Tail need to grow in their fights to actually manage to win. And having this be a team fight against these powerful characters would also add in something that I loved about the original Fairy Tail for a long time, is that a lot of the fights in Fairy Tail revolved around team fights. People teaming up to take on an opponent, whether it be 2 or more against 1, or tag team fights. That's something that I really did enjoy. People combining abilities or coming up with strategies to take out their opponents and take advantage of their weaknesses, or doing unison raids, which is something that we need to see more of in 100 Years Quest, because I love unison raids and their really cool ultimate moves for team attacks, and I want to see more of those. And Diablos showing up would definitely be something to give Diablos fans like myself something to look forward to, since they haven't done anything in 2 arcs almost. And I just feel like that's just a waste of their characters if they haven't done anything for an arc that's all about dragons at this point. So yeah, I feel like they should help at least with the demons, even though they're dragon slayers, but that's just me. Either way, this all just comes down to the fact that Mashima needs to give the Seis a chance to redeem themselves in the eyes of the readers. They've been the jobbers of the universe. They've been brought up multiple times only to get their asses beat after their reintroduction in the anime or the manga with the Tartarus and Key to the Starry Heavens. They haven't had any good showings lately, and Cobra at best was just fighting Acnologia, but he was still getting tossed around like the other Dragon Slayers. As a redeemed character, he hasn't had a big moment where he stood up. This latest chapter is gearing up towards that. Heck, Jalal had multiple moments where he stepped up and had to fight. In the most recent arc of Gold Owl, he had a character-defining moment, adding more to his backstory and why all of the decisions and events that's happened to him make even more sense when you sit down and think about his past. And so I feel like we're getting set up for that for Cobra and perhaps the Seis. Maybe add in some more gaps as to how Brain ended up just bringing all the Seis together, because that's still kind of up in the air. He just snatched them up because they had good proficiency for magic power, and so he trained them over the years to be the Oracion Seis. I feel like doing that would be great. Flesh out Midnight's whole father-son dynamic and just history with Brain, aka Zero. It would make their fight even better and would add more weight to it. And it would make it even better if Zero managed to lose to his son. It would give Midnight an upstanding moment, because at the end of the day, the favorite Seis members that Mashima tends to draw consistently are Midnight, Cobra, and kind of Angel. So it just feels like they are the ones primed to get their big wins. Heck, Sawyer in the recent chapters is being the one to encourage the Seis. He's not the person that I expected to be someone that would end up trying to give a pep talk to the Seis. If anything, I would expect it more from Richard of all people. Or heck, maybe Cobra with his influence from Fairy Tail and his fiancée Kinana. Who, yes, she's his fiancée if you don't remember that one-off chapter where we got a peek into what he was doing while Team Fairy Tail went off to Giltina for 100 Years Quest. But that's besides the point. The Oracion Seis need a win. They need a win really, really bad, and they need some character-defining moments, because at the end of the day, they are the most prominent group of characters outside of Fairy Tail in the entire story, and it just feels like a waste of their characters to just show up for the sole purpose of getting their asses beat without any real showcasing for it. It happened in Alvarez, and now it might be happening in the current arc, but the recent chapter just makes me feel like they're turning it around, and I just want to see them grow and show what they're capable of and how their characters have changed. But that's just me, and I really hope that happens for the Seis, because out of all of the groups in Fairy Tail, they deserve to have a win and to have their proper moments. But what do you guys think? Do you think the Seis deserve a win or at least some character-defining moments in this arc since we're being lead to it? Or do you think we're just going to be set up for disappointment and them getting just set up to fail once more to continuously being the guys that get beat down to showcase the strength of characters for like the second or third time in a row? Let me know. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. Now with all that said and done, hope you all have an awesome day.